George Foreman, the heavyweight champ, larger than life in every way, passed away today at the age of 76. Foreman's rags to riches story is the stuff of boxing legend. Growing up impoverished, a mugger and brawler on the streets of Texas, he found organized boxing as a teen, quickly rising to Olympic champ at 24 and at 24, stunning Joe Frazier to become the heavyweight champion of the world. His ascension as dramatic as his fall to Muhammad Ali in the famed Rumble in the Jungle match, to lose his title. Yet after leaving the sport and becoming a minister, he returned to the ring over a decade later, a new man, and then miraculously recaptured the heavyweight title at the age of 45 against Michael Moorer, who was 19 years his junior. His popularity afterwards helped him make millions as a pitchman, and his George Foreman griller nearly eclipsed his boxing fame for a time. But the legacy he leaves, to use a boxing analogy, is one where he could be down, but could never be counted out. Foreman's family released the following statement via his Instagram account. With profound sorrow, we announce the passing of our beloved George Edward Foreman Sr., who peacefully departed on March 21st, 2025, surrounded by loved ones, a devout preacher, a devoted husband, a loving father, and a proud grand and great-grandfather. He lived a life marked by unwavering faith, humility, and purpose.
We welcome in ESPN boxing commentator Mark Kriegel now. Mark, it's almost like there were two George Foremans. There was the guy who played the heavy, really, the villain against Muhammad Ali in Zaire a half a century ago. Let's talk about that guy first. Tell us about the young George Foreman.
Well, if you look at boxing as a continuum, he was somewhere between, he was the scary guy. So he's between Sonny Liston and Mike Tyson. And, you know, Joe Frazier was about as tough a guy who's ever laced up gloves. He put him down 6 times. And I think that really crystallized Foreman's reputation as invincible. Everybody, you know, who's going to put down Joe Frazier 6 times? And it set up the Rumble in the Jungle, arguably as famous a fight as ever there was for Ali, which of course left Foreman, I think, psychiatrically scarred. You know, he was the bully who was undone against Ali, and it was probably Ali's finest moment. It was what he did in the rope-a-dope was pretty much improvisational, and it tested his courage, and it tested everyone's limits. And watching this, how long can Ali do this? And then, of course, you saw what happened. He turned it all around on the bully. What's different about Foreman than perhaps anyone else is the idea you cited before of reinventing yourself. It's uniquely American, but it's never been done this way in boxing. It wasn't just coming back as a preacher and a pitchman and selling hamburgers or grills or whatever it was. It was more purposeful than any of us knew as far as boxing. The previous oldest heavyweight champion, I believe, was Jersey Joe Walcott, who won when he was 37. Foreman came back when he was just shy of his 46th birthday, I think 2 months shy. And in doing it, it was his own kind of rope-a-dope that night against Michael Moorer. I'll never forget it. He took punches. Moorer was a really skilled guy, and he just beat him up for 9 rounds. Moorer did, with a great right jab. And all of a sudden, Foreman reaches out, slaps him with a left hook, and you see that right hand, that thing travels this far, boom, and it puts him out. And it was an extraordinary comeback. And I think that across, like, all the other sports are metaphors for what boxing actually is, but what Foreman did that night was what was the most sacred thing any athlete can do. He defied time, and he did it in a profound way, winning by knockout in the 10th round after taking extraordinary punishment for, you know, basically 9.5 rounds.
Unbelievable. Larger-than-life figure, winning titles in 2 different decades, 20 years apart. Had 5 sons, named them all George. Just a colorful figure.
If I can add one thing.
Yes.
You know, he didn't just reinvent himself. He was a bad guy who came back as a guy who was universally loved. That's a very difficult thing to do in any piece of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he basically changed everyone's mind about himself, and really a remarkable life. our boxing commentator, Mark Kriegel, sharing some memories, some insight
Thank you,
into
Dave.
George Foreman. Mark, thank you. George Foreman, born in 1949, has passed away here in 2025 at the age of 76.